Up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so before I get into the video, shout out to the brother RM Jr. 1998 for the $20 donation via the Cash App. He says, salute to Too Raw Nation. Salute to you, brother, for showing love. Longtime subscriber and longtime friend. So let's talk about this. I just did a video giving my opinion about Kawhi Leonard and, whether this is going to affect his Hall of Fame status. And I'm going to tell you something. The more I listen to those who have really done their due diligence as far as researching this situation, shout out to the brother Ticket TV, shout out to the brother Herm, Hollywood Herm. I heard him speaking. I listened to Adam Silver a little bit. I got to finish listening to the whole interview. I listened to some of his interview that he was doing with someone affiliated with Front Office Sports. And I'm just analyzing the situation in my mind more. I'm starting to think now that I might have been underestimating the significance of this whole situation. And when I say underestimating, I mean, oftentimes money, power, privilege, unfortunately, offsets justice, right? We know that. We know that, man. I mean, I don't talk about stuff anymore, political stuff on this platform anymore. They don't want me to. But look, there are certain things going on recently. We see that there is a clear line between what we have to do and what the elites have to do or what they're expected to do. You know what I'm saying? We know this, right? But I think what I've been missing here, and this ties into Donald Sterling 10 years ago. Although ostensibly Donald Sterling was removed for being a racist, right? Especially in that atmosphere of a renewal in our country of racial sensitivity, and to so-called special interest groups. And you could argue that was the beginnings of the so-called cancel culture. And everything since then, not to talk politics, has been a overreaction to all of that, right? But in reality, the NBA kind of wanted to get rid of Donald Sterling for a while. He was not beloved by players. Almost everybody that played within the organization despised him. I strongly believe that Donald Sterling, although I can't prove this, I suspect it was Donald Sterling who is the anonymous owner that slapped Jenny Bust on the ass in that owners meeting when she first became an owner back in 2013. I can't prove that, but all signs point to it being him. And I think that the NBA used that scandal to get rid of him, plus the fact that the Clippers were just not a profitable organization. And there were some signs that Donald Sterling had he was starting to have dementia, right? So I say all that to say this. Steve Ballmer is not popular amongst owners because of his immense wealth. Last time I checked, he was worth $175 billion, right? Seventh richest man in the world. His pockets run significantly deeper than other owners. The owners around the league don't like him because he has the ability, unlike the others. Now, don't get me wrong, they're rich, but they don't have his type of wealth to be able to pay consistently, allegedly, players on the table, like we are seeing the evidence overwhelmingly shows he's done with Kawhi Leonard. And I have a feeling that Kawhi is not the only guy that's been getting this treatment. I think he's been getting the lion's share of it, but all I'm going to say is, and this is just me, Don't be surprised if something pops up with Bradley Beal. I'm just saying. Now it's just me talking. I don't have the evidence, but don't be surprised if something pops up with Bradley Beal, because I think we just getting into the beginnings, the tip of the iceberg when it comes to this shit with Steve Ballmer. And yes, I do believe that Mark Cuban played fit to fake out as far as initially appearing to be a Steve Ballmer supporter, but in reality, I wouldn't be surprised if, the owners are in cahoots to get rid of this guy. Now, I just heard Adam Silver doing interviews, or at least part of it, and it's clear as day that he's trying to cover his tracks, because this guy a couple of days ago said he never even heard of Aspirations, which is the sham company in which Steve Ballmer was paying Kawhi Leonard on the table. Now all of a sudden he said, "Oh well, I meant I never heard them being affiliated with anything as far as tomfoolery." That's not what you said. But then he feels it. I can tell he feels like the integrity of the league is at stake here. And in that interview, to me, he hinted that there's going to be a third party investigating this situation, as well as the NBA, right? That's what I was hearing, at least. The way he was talking, yeah, when you look at the fact that this league has banned players for, illegal gambling, or being involved as far as gambling is concerned in a legal manner. You got players who've been investigated for that stuff. You've had players who have gone to jail for being part of, a healthcare scam. Remember that? Well, you had former NBA players going to prison, including Big Baby. Yeah, when you look at this situation, Kawhi Leonard, if he was involved in this, and I'm not trying to make it just about him, but if he's involved in this, then yeah, he has to, it could get bad. And now that I think about it, he might get the Pete Rose treatment. The NBA is going to have a sacrificial lamb, and the due diligence of Pablo Torre and independent content creators like myself and Ticket and others, we're talking about this, we're making this a story. And I think they're going to throw the book at this guy, Kawhi. I think they are. I wouldn't be surprised now if they void his contract and suspend him. And there may be a penalty more than just a year as far as him not being in the Hall of Fame. And I'm going to tell you another damning sign that this stuff is legit. Steve Ballmer, as I said before, is one of the richest men in the world. You would have to think that Pablo Torre and anybody that's doing any investigation right now with their evidence and the evidence they're putting out there, they have to make sure that all of their T's are crossed and their I's are dotted. They got to make sure that the evidence they're presenting is 100% factual, because you don't think that Steve Ballmer will sue the fuck out you if you're promoting anything or putting anything out there that's not real. He's going to sue the fuck out you. So the fact that at least I haven't heard him threaten to sue anybody, that right there is damning. What billionaire you heard of who's been accused of doing something illegal, not threatening to sue? Donald Trump, even though we know it, let me shut up. I can talk about him. I'm just going to say, we see the billionaires threaten to sue people all the time. That's what they do to shut people up. Steve Ballmer's not doing that. That right there is a damning development right there. So I think this is going to be the dominant story. I think it's going to be the dominant story of the next couple of months, and one of the dominant stories of this upcoming year. And I think Kawhi Leonard tenure with the Clippers is going to come to an end. Also, I'm going to throw this in there. Now, this is just me speculating. Okay? And Tiki brought up a good point. One of the reasons why the NBA has been so far kind of quiet about this is because there's some other stuff going on that people have been complaining about, or people kind of suspect, and that the NBA knows some stuff about Ramon James. I wouldn't be surprised with LeBron coming out recently saying, "Oh, I'm not retiring anytime soon," because he knows once he retires and his influence wanes, that protection ends for the most part. So as long as he's playing, as long as he's perceived to be a marquee player, as long as he's taking those well, you know what, he's still kind of pretty much untouchable. He's still valuable, which means the NBA and Nike and all of the other affiliates are going to protect him. So he has an incentive to keep playing. So I'm just saying, I'm not saying that's why he all of a sudden say, "Oh, I'm not retiring anytime soon." But hey, you gotta use your common sense. Anyway, that's all I got to say about it. Tell me what you guys think.